I wanted a black bowling movie, and this was all for years. I'd been looking, and then this happened, and I was so happy that they chose me.
See how life works out sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey, Den of Geek fans, Aaron Sagers here, and we are at the Den of Geek Studios, South by Southwest 2024, surrounded by the all-star cast and creatives of The Gutter, a film that's a loving tribute to bowling alleys and the characters that populate it. So...
That sound right?
That's, sure. I mean, I'm guessing based on the press notes I read, so... Yeah, that's exactly it.
So, it's a family film.
Family film, yes. Touching, we learn things about one another by the end. So let's talk about why a bowling alley and why this is a place that this is something of an attraction for you guys.
Explain yourself.
Yeah. Why?
Well, you know, when me and Yassir in LA, like, I don't know, 10 years ago. I want to say, I mean, I hope it was 10 years ago because we were very poor. I don't want to be like, it was actually 2.5. It was actually only 2.5 years ago. Me, Yassir, and one of our buddies would go bowling all the time because it was cheap. It was like one of the few things we could afford to do. And when we would go, we would notice how there would be like a birthday party and, you know, us, and then like gang members hanging out there. And we're like, oh, this is literally a place where all sorts of people hang out. And we thought it was funny. We wanted to make a movie about it. Like, Yassir, you know, we've talked about this before, but like, you know, one time we were bowling and there was a group of gang members that were literally talking about, like, it was a leisure of the daily crimes for that day. Sure. Yeah, they were like, so you robbed that guy. He's like, yeah. I stole this guy's credit card information. Yeah. I physically threatened this other dude, you know, and we were like, this is wild. And then they're like, oh man, it's a 710. I can't get it. And it's like the thought process switched very quickly. And so that kind of inspired Yassir to write the movie. We just kind of wanted to bring that kind of situation to film, because we thought the world needed it.
Then they said, how can we get Susan Sarandon in such a movie? And that was the challenge.
Yeah, I wanted a black bowling movie, and this was all for years. I'd been looking, and then this happened, and I was so happy that they chose me.
See how life works out sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of our favorite stories is Dear Susan, while me and Isaiah were in New York, they're like, Susan Sarandon wants to meet you. And so we're like, oh my God, like, all right, put on the face, like, you know, like, and we show up and she's like, you guys, the script was so funny. And I just kept thinking, I hope these guys are black, because if they're not, this is pretty crazy. We're like, I like that you considered it even otherwise. Like,
Shameik, I want to throw to you because your character is Walt, right?
Yes,
and this is what you're kind of the entry point to this world, and then you connect with Skunk. Yes. Which is Darcy's character.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about your entry point into this world and then this relationship that develops between you and Skunk.
You know, I think Walt's just trying to figure it out. You know, he's trying to make his money and find a job. He finds a place that feels like home a bit, and then he runs into Skunk. And then there are these souls that were meant to meet each other. They were twins from the jump, looking in the mirror.
Yes,
Yet they're
different. I agree. It is almost love story-ish, isn't it? It's two like seemingly shitty people that are these big messes that kind of have hearts of gold and find each other. I agree. Like little soulmates. It's a sweet love story. It's such a insane comedy, like hard comedy. It's insane. Let me say this. This script is insane. It's a crazy movie. But there's some really heartwarming moments. Like I just love this relationship.
Not with me.
No.
I'm not a heartwarmer in this one.
Susan and Paul, okay, we've got the Crusher and Angelo, right? So how do you guys fit into this very weird world of characters?
I'm
Susan?
iconic.
Yes. She's the Michael Jordan of bowling. Yeah.
The Crusher, you are the all-time
Yes,
best.
and he's getting very close to challenging my record, so I come out of retirement.
And I'd always wanted to play an Italian guy in any context. It said Angelo. I said, I'm in.
Sign me up. Yeah.
Don't you want to read the script? Doesn't matter. I'm Angelo. I was eating prosciutto. I went, this is right up my alley, so to speak. I play sort of the very, very low ball Howard Cosell of the bowling channel.
Yes.
Bowl Lives Matter. And it was.
That is the name.
That is, yes. Yes, I didn't make that up.
We did.
Yeah. But it is truly one of the few scripts that you read and you go, this is just really funny. And you laugh and then you go, oh, that's so wrong. Yeah. There's so many wrong. It's edgy and funny and just really laugh out loud funny.
Unpredictable.
And then there's bowling on top of everything else.
Along the lines of it being so wrong, we really did have to trust the Lester brothers. We really were. We would, the script, like I said, is I'd be like, okay, we're doing this scene today, guys, and you guys would just be like, we got you. And it was just a lesson in trust and love.
To their credit, and I mean this sincerely, like, me and Isaiah have worked on many things comedically, and there's a lot of actors who are more worried about the image later, and these four were so down for everything in ways that, like, we would watch the dailies and be like, okay, that actually is too far. But they did it. And it was so fun. And I mean this, like, Darcy is just like this comedic atomic bomb. And, like, everything around her just gets, like, she just, like, exudes funny. And, like, having Paul and Susan and Shameik, like, just who are, truly just, they're, look at them. These are all superstars, but I mean, just like Darcy and Paul were just down to do whatever. Susan is so comedically intelligent that, like, you're really, like, me and Isaiah talk about it all the time. We're just like, just her ideas that she would just spout out as a nothing. We were like, God damn it, that's pretty good. And then Shameik, like, he plays such an innocent person in this. There's just faces he gives that, like, we start crying laughing, and it's like it's just a single on him. So I just want to make sure that we, like, shout out how incredible this cast is, truly.
And a big thank to Pornhub, right?
Yes. Oh,
big
yeah.
Thanks to Pornhub.
Pornhub. We don't believe the rumors. We're here for
I was thinking about everybody sort of has that different, I guess, first bowling alley as far as it could be the pizza parlor that's very family friendly. It could be the low lit, smoky, dodgy place where a crime syndicate is meeting. It could be sort of the hipster upscale Brooklyn, bowling palace that now exists. For each of you, what was sort of your early bowling alley memories?
I think it's important to say in the credits that we don't use bumpers in this movie.
Oh, okay. Yes. You're playing for real.
Hardcore,
Okay.
edgy, regular bowling.
No animals were injured, but several spectators were hurt severely.
Was there a community building bowling trip?
No, but we shot in a bowling alley every day. So occasionally bowling would take place. I mean, it was a real working, old, shitty, disgusting bowling alley that was our home.
It might get revived now that this movie's going to be huge, right?
It shouldn't. But.
Yeah.
Okay. It absolutely has mold. It has mold and bad things. Yeah. There are rats living in the walls. My first bowling alley experience, I think I went with my brownie troupe, and I think there were bumpers involved. And I was pretty good.
No,
that's it.
There's no shame in bumpers. Well, it was about 3 weeks before we started the movie, and I threw my ass out because you have to end up on one leg with the other leg behind. So I went with some friends who were like really from the Midwest and knew a lot about bowling style.
Part of the culture.
And then I couldn't walk for like 3 days. So some of it is faked.
Yeah, you had me at threw my ass out. I didn't even know that's a thing. That you could actually.
Yeah, it is. It is.
The problem seems to be the ass. We've strained a muscle in the ass muscle.
I remember in 7th grade, I went bowling with a group of my friends, and we were bowling. We were having a good time, and like I'm just like focused on the game. And I'm like getting excited when I'm blowing strikes and stuff like that. And my buddy grabs me by the shirt and goes, "We're here to meet girls." And I was like, "Oh." I was just playing the game. Yeah. So I was a dork for enjoying bowling. That's like my fondest memory, I think.
Yeah. love that.
We're here to meet girls.
We're here to meet girls.
Grab me by my throwback Dennis Rodman jersey.
But bowling alleys notoriously famous for where the ladies hang.
My mom says I used to like bowling when I was like a little tiny bit like kid, and she has pictures that I think made it. She sent you guys photos, I think, so it had to be true. But my first kind of what comes to mind right now when I'm thinking about bowling. I really like bowling with my friends in Brooklyn. It's not the first time, but I do like to bowl a lot. Like,
Do you
I
go to the
enjoy it.
gutter in Brooklyn?
I have gone to the gutter in LES.
That's the name.
Yeah, yeah.
It's called the gutter.
Yeah, there's a gutter in LES that actually I might be a little bougie, you know, sometimes, maybe a lot, all the time, but I try not to be, but I am. And anyway,
Do you try?
I do. I do. I really try not to be. I try. I put in a good effort. I'm a Taurus, and I just like nice things, you know. So, and I like them to be clean and all that. So anyway, when I roll the ball at the gutter, it's a different vibe than when I rolled it at like what's the one that starts with an F? Like Brooklyn Bowl is great, you know. But there's the one that we always go to that's really nice. It's like a club inside. Long story short, the gutter is the most memorable.
Well, see, I know the club that I'm in Brooklyn as well, so I know that.
Starts with an F. Frames. Friends.
Yes.
Son.
And there's like
Friends.
sort of this thin line between sort of the hipster dive-esque bowling alleys that are selling Coors Banquet, ironically, versus the places that are, this is it. This is the beer selection. When you're actually filming in the gutter, when you're filming in a place that is low down, just kind of gross, what were the cringe moments that you guys had where you're like, nope, never wearing a bowling shoe again, never doing this again, like after seeing sort of the inside behind the scenes?
I do want to stress, like, how disgusting the bowling alley we shot in was. Like, there's no world in what you're thinking is a terrible bowling alley, and that the bowling alley we shot in is better than that.
Well,
like,
tell the story of what
yeah.
happened to the pro that came in to do all the strikes for me.
We had a few bowling pros come in, and one of the funniest things is that we have like this big championship moment later on that, by the way, it's such a few amount of people, such a little amount of people, and the bowling pro comes in and they're like, this is about right. And we're like, Jesus Christ, really? It's like, yeah, give or take. But we had this incredible bowling pro for Susan doing, yes, she threw her butt out. Before that, she was deadlifting 450. I do want to
Thank
give
you.
it some context. Yeah, exactly. The belt and everything. So we have this bowling pro come, and the problem is that, again, worst bowling alley in America, and she's bowling as if it's a good one. So her balls just keep going anywhere but the pins, and it was that thing where, like, you have a professional be like, this sucks. Actually, I'm really good. And we're all like, yeah, I bet you are. You know? Like, yeah, we're just like, it was like unwaxed, and, you know, I'm sure there was like a rat. Yeah, she was really mad.
And then I threw it and got a strike. But we weren't filming.
Nobody got that.
Bathrooms are always. It doesn't even have to just be a bowling alley. The bathroom determines if I'm gonna like this place or not. Restaurant, hotel, bowling alley.
Priorities. You have to know your bottom line. You're right.
Can you imagine eating food at that bowling alley?
No.
What it would have been a rat.
Yeah,
You would have eaten a rat. It really, I don't think, like, it's not, this place is unused. It is like a condemned, we shouldn't have been there. Yeah. We shouldn't have been there.
It was cheap.
It was great.
It was
And we
cheap.
loved it.
And the look of it was great.
Yeah, it was perfect.
And I was going to say, and I got to meet a bunch of guys from FEMA, so that's awesome too.
It was great. And it was also right next door to a preschool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And a boxing gym.
It was great. It was great.
In the box.
I mean, we loved
One-stop shopping.
it. I drive by it all the time, and I think of it fondly. There's two places I drive by all the time: that and the graveyard, and I think of you guys every day. So
Something I saw in the notes is that you guys were talking about the desire to do a comedy, like a true comedy, and kind of bring it back to the comedies that you grew up with, the stuff that you loved. Talk a little bit about that, how you really feel like you executed that, and then I definitely want to hear from the cast on that too, having worked in, comedies and being comedians. How did these guys pull it off? Go.
I think that I was trying to write something that I was just like, no one will ever give me a job again. Like I was kind of just like self-sabotaging myself in a weird way. But I think that me and Isaiah, like comedically, you know, we have our own paths in this industry. He's, you know, done the Tonight Show, Blackish, all this stuff. I've worked on other shows. But I think because of that, we really try to compartmentalize and segment what is a comedy, what is a drama, what is a rom-com, you know? And right now, I personally feel like over the past few years, those have all been muddled. And because of that, the comedy is the thing that suffers, right? Like you watch these shows that, you know, they say like it's a cool FX comedy and you're like, they said like one kind of funny thing in that. We're like, what would just happen if we just tried to be funny first and allow the rest of the stuff happen naturally? And that's what Darcy was saying is like there really is like this hidden like platonic love story and this cast of characters that though they're all monsters separately like really do have this like kinetic energy that binds them to like the world as a you know as a greater thing. So I'm just really happy that again these people were all down to do it and like I don't think they're getting an Oscar for this, but like
No, but you know
so
what?
I'm glad
But
they
truly,
came.
the best stuff comes when creators sit down and say, what would we like to see? And just do that, because if you aim for, well, what are they buying? What is nobody knows.
Yeah.
People would be having hits every day if that was the case. So when you sit down and write organically what you want to see and what makes you laugh, that's going to turn out to be great.
Starting almost like just starting in amongst, this is for us.
Yeah, because, you know, nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
And there's freedom in that, I think, because you guys really did write the script that made you guys laugh, and then it made us laugh too. But it's rare that you read a script where you're really really laughing out loud. You know, like I laughed so much when I read it. I read it in one little swallow, and I immediately texted my agent, and I think I said, I should pull it up. I said, this is the most batshit insane script I've ever read. I have to meet these two guys. And it was so clearly like it wasn't to please anyone. It was just, and I mean that in the best way.
By the way, that's the backbone
Yeah.
of my career.
And
If
like
I
how-
please no one.
it wasn't to like answer any notes or any, you know, it was just something that made them laugh that therefore made us laugh. And it was fully a joyful experience.
When I arrived, I was later, so they had already kind of bonded and whatever. And immediately, you know, it was clear that you felt safe to be foolish, which is really necessary in a comedy especially, and that everybody was so substantial and good that you could throw anything out there and Shameik could handle it, or if I deviated, you know, whatever the situation was, I didn't feel I had to protect anybody or spoon feed anybody. Everybody was surprising, which is the thing about the business that I love the most, is when you get in a situation where maybe you have an idea, but then the other person gives you something that takes it to another place. And you just don't find that, because especially in big, big projects, you've got a monitor with 22 people behind it from the studio or whatever, and they're watching everything and making notes, and everything gets homogenized, especially with comedy. Like, we don't want to offend anybody in the first 5 minutes, and you're like, but that person's supposed to be awful. Then they get, no, even from the beginning, they better not be too awful. You know, and they just created such an atmosphere where the point of it was to have fun.
Yeah.
You
And it
know,
felt like
and
a
that was
home
important.
project. And they were the directors, they were the writers, and they were there. And there was no studio saying you can't do that. It just felt like if we're making them laugh, we're doing all right.
All the you can't do that came later.
we didn't have to deal with
That's
that.
not our problem, right?
That was your problem.
So we're taking a collection so we can distribuute the movie.
When we first read this script, it was like, I'm not gonna lie, comedy for me from the jump has always been like I don't watch comedy, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really it's very hard to make me laugh. I'm naturally grew up in a military setting, you know what I'm saying? It's a very different structure for me, but I just finished shooting Wu-Tang at the time, which was, you know, between Spider-Verse and Wu-Tang. I was like, and then I was like, this script is going to break that, and it's going to be able to show range, you know? And of course, Phil, I'm not sure if it was Phil or Chris that told Yassir about me, and I had this beautiful note that Yassir sent to me that really I think that's what really like sent me into it. I'm like, all right, because I like to feel loved or respected or like, you know what I mean? I like to feel wanted.
I think you're the
like,
only
you know?
actor that feels that. Yeah, it's all. It's all.
That's everybody. That's every human, I think. So I think
That
he
was
went.
a joke.
That was a joke.
You see?
No.
You see?
No.
This is literally what I mean.
But
This is literally what I
some
mean.
people
Yeah.
say, "Well, why did you take that script?" Like, because they invited me.
No,
That's why.
they said I like you.
Somebody liked me. Okay.
I'm kind of
We're very
in the
simple
business
people,
of saying no personally, but this script, what I'm getting to is that he really, I felt that there was an opportunity here, and yeah, I can't wait to see what the world thinks, and you know, because it's very vulnerable for me. You know what I'm saying?
You know, for Shameik coming into this and not being at his core a comedic actor, I mean, how'd he do?
Well, I was just gonna say he did so well, but it was so fun being with him since day one. It was so fun to watch him open up, and trust, and it really was like that first week. I feel like it was like every day chipped away a little bit until he was like, oh, this is really fun, and I like all of you guys. And then it was like we were off.
But also, it needs to be grounded.
Yeah.
You know, too much winking at the audience doesn't work. So I felt that when I came in, everyone was playing it funny, but very straight, very real, very grounded. And I think that's the best comedy, or the kind that I like to do. So they found the tone. Everybody was in the same neighborhood, you know, in terms of tone.
And I just
including
to
this
shout
guy.
out Shameik one more time, and me and Isaiah talk about this a lot. Like when he came in, as he was saying, you know, he had like ideas for what the character was, and then when we would do rehearsals, he would just say the lines as himself, and I'm like, that's the character, is you. Just be you know. And like, I love him dearly. He's a little weirdo, and like, and we were like, the closer you are to you, the better this is. And every single time he said something, we were dying.
And I think like ultimately, if you can act, you can act, and all these people up here can act, and they have a bag, they have a deep bag and a great skill set, and that was just, I mean, I hope we did our best to pull out something good, because they have so much great things, so many great things to offer, each one of them, and it's all different, and it was just really cool and fun to work with all of them, honestly.
And if everybody in the country goes to see this, I think that'll be good.
I think so too.
That's all we're asking, just this country. Yes, this can bring the country together, finally. A bowling movie. Thank you.
You heard it from Paul Reiser. Go, you know, have the unity moment. Go see The Gutter, all of you in America. Guys, The Gutter, I look forward to seeing it. It looks
Thank you.
awesome. Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for your time today.